This is your daily market recap for Monday, July 18th, 2022. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at EXPI Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your daily market recap for Monday, July 18th, 2022. Let's get into it. Hopefully you had a great weekend, had a chance to check out the weekend recaps, and let's get into it. Pretty interesting day. You had a pop, flop, chop, pop, flop. Now, Apple came out with some news, and a lot, we'll get into that, which honestly, if you have been paying attention to anything in the markets, you knew that Apple was going to do this. Literally every big tech company, Facebook announced it. I mean, everybody said it weeks ago that they were going to cut costs, cut spending. That is not new. Keep in mind, the market is a forward-looking, anticipating mechanism. If you think this is new news to the market and somehow going to push the market in a direction based on this news for much longer than a day or two, then I think you're misled, because nobody in their brightest mind should have not expected this. I mean, it's just one of those things. Pay attention to the news. Again, not necessarily read it, but just pay attention to headlines. Like, every company talked about this. So we're at this point in the cycle where you don't know if good news is bad news is good news. We'll get into it. We'll look at the charts. We'll let the charts do the speaking. So I always like to, again, kind of offer this to people who are newer to the channel, paying attention. If you are not familiar with the Discord room and what we're up to, please check out link in the description below. There's a ton of educational videos and content and just books to read and literally everything. And then we're chatting all day. And now, again, how much trading are we doing? Really just depends. Not a ton of day trading, ultimately. Some things that we'll be doing. But we're usually trying to identify the best trades and also confirm our swing trades, because that's, as I tell people, day trading's for cookies, swing trading's for the whales. We try to trade like the whales. We're trying to get the big moves. If you're still not a follower, check out the Twitter page. Constantly dropping nuggets of what we're watching, things we're expecting. Yeah. If you have any questions, this is usually where at worst you can find, because I know a lot of people on stock twits who watch this who just, they hit me up on stock twits. It's like, please don't. Come by the Discord room. You'll get your best answers. And here are your references if you're not in the Discord room. All right, let's jump into it. The Bitcoin got up to our trend line. We talked about this, needed to break out. As of right now, I can't tell you yes or no. You hit the trend, very clear. Now what? Your guess is as good as mine. This is what makes trading hard sometimes. At this point, what do you think? Well, this is how I trade this stuff if this was me. I would raise my stop, tighten it up, could have sold a little bit, and then added if it breaks out. Or if you're the swing trader type who just doesn't need to watch it every day, doesn't really give a, just set your stop at your entry. Make it so that you just can't lose. That's the key here. Because at this point, I've talked about this every video. Could it be a pop and chop flop? Can it be a pop and chop kind of then rip? This kind of situation, we don't know. That's where I have to put the probabilities in our favor. At this point, without the volume confirming much, you'd kind of like to see it come up with this. It just says what it is. This is the probability games that you run through your brain. You say, all right, we need to break this trend line because then we can go to this one. I mean, think of it as like a way station to the next move. You need to know, right? You need to know. Oil, not surprised it bounced. We talked about holding like the low 90s. Bounced. Okay, now what? Here's the monthly. I still don't really trust it. I mean, everybody's bullish oil. That makes me very skeptical of it. Very skeptical of it. So, Doji, that wasn't a surprise. Maybe back up to the trend. Again, people keep going, oh, it's going back to the highs. Later this year, maybe. Not right now. Zero chance. I mean, again, maybe I'll eat my own words, but zero chance in my mind. We'll get into more of the oil names later, but that's just kind of a 50,000 foot flyover. I'm not surprised if we see chop action. But I'm also looking for the headline where increased oil production is coming and how that affects the market. We'll see. TLT posted this trade today. Said, buy it anywhere under 115. Said it'd close over the 50-day. Did it? Ooh. What is wow, that is just, wow, barely. Take it as a W, I guess. Now what? I mean, this is the thing about bonds. The reason why I'm holding them as a part of my portfolio is because if the market does drop significantly because of deflation, not inflation. Keep in mind, oil prices, agriculture prices, copper, silver, not silver, whatever. Commodity prices have peeled back. If the market tanks, this should probably go higher, and it also could go higher if just deflation and people want to buy bonds. They want to diversify. The market becomes stable. This could get bought. So pick your poison, know your play here. Not surprised. I thought it might get to the 20-day after I started watching, but then I got distracted. I got a million things going on. But at this point, it still looks fine. Pulls back on lighter volume. The dollar, here we go. What did we say? Check out the monthly. When in doubt, zoom out. We said probably going to have some issues up here in the 29s. You're getting your issues. Backing off, that's cool. I mean, again, the market's going to like that, right? The VIX, what have we said? We are coming back down to the channel low at some point. Cool. It held the 200-day. Not surprised. Keep in mind, it went from, 29 down to 24s. Pops a little bit. Nothing technically bullish or bearish at this point. You could argue this is a double bottom. I would argue it's more of like, I don't know, just choppy action. It's really hard to classify anything with 100% certainty when it comes to this kind of stuff, because one of the things that you have to be wary of is what's going on in the world, right? At this point, I still think sentiment is extremely bearish. Go look at stock twits, go look at FinTwit, look at the average person. I mean, they're reading the headlines, and the headlines are saying the world is going to end. Now, again, does the world end every time? No. Odds are it probably isn't. But this is the one thing that's interesting about markets is what do? They make sure they trap everybody. And so a bear market is a trader's market. As much as I expect the market to go lower in the fall, it doesn't keep me from the facts that it probably is going to be playing this game of bounce. And that means what? In chop. I'll show you on the monthly. This is what we expect. In the bear markets preceding the big blowouts. Say this every time. I'm amazed how these market gurus who are like, bear, 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 market's gonna die. And then it's like, no, you get like this choppy action before the final phase blowout. Choppy action, final phase blowout. Keep in mind that the SPY was in, the VIX and the SPY didn't really move as much as the QQQ in the 2000s. So, point being, let's run it back. Chop before the drop in the market. Remember, this is going to chop before it pops. Okay? Okay. Again, we're not at that. I don't think we're at the phase where the wipeout's coming. People, again, keep in mind, the wipeout isn't something everyone anticipates. The wipeout is something everyone gets blown out by, because this is when we were shorting and we're like, we're going to go lower later, and everyone's going, no, the market's going back to highs. Oh, everything's great. No. Remember, there's gaps. I've said this a million times. This was the wipeout, even though the VIX didn't confirm it, but this was the fear-based blow-off near term. Like, think about why. Gaps are very emotional, folks. Like, if people can't even wait to sell it to the next day, and then the next, like this day, and then the next day, and then the next day, and then blow out, novice gap, professional gap, pop. Now, I know today's action, everyone's going to go, oh, the SPY, bearish. Look at the volume. It was crap. I mean, you popped and you closed at the lows. No one's going to argue that. But look at the volume. It wasn't crazy. And what? You closed over the 20-day. You technically made a higher high. Stop looking at colors all the time. Just keep in mind, it still did make it a higher high. I still think you're going to rise coming up here. QQQ really wanted to see it close over the 50-day. Made a higher high. Has a higher low. Did not close over the 50-day. But now what? Man, when's the last time you closed over the 50-day? Well, you kind of had some choppy action up on it. Not surprised, and then went a little higher. I still expect at least three handle on the Qs. I would not be surprised by a little higher high, meaning like channel 320s. We'll see. I could be dead wrong. Either way, we're not married to our ideas, right? We're going to let it play out. The IWM. This is one of the things that made me think today. All right, we hit the 50-day, not surprised, backed off, but it only finished down 50 cents. Like, the IWM leads, right? To me, it looks okay. If the market was really going to get smoked, I would think the IWM would have like this just underlying ugly action. And it's not really. I mean, think if you took the color out of the candles and you saw this and you saw it pull back a third, that's not that bearish. It didn't engulf this whole move. No, it just looked like it's profit taking. Gold. You know, I've given this the blessing to buy, but I just really cannot get excited about it because I feel like it's about to go into this like purgatory of chopness. Like last summer, like it just is like, ugh, and it'll pop and then it'll flop and then it'll pop and then it'll flop. We're just not at that point, in my opinion, because again, in bear markets, the best time to buy gold is actually at the capitulation point in the bear market. Even though the market will probably go a little lower or chop, gold, that's when the time to buy it because everybody has to sell everything. Like this isn't safe. I mean, it's going to hold up better. Again, long term, I'd rather own gold than anything else. So, like, let's make sure that's not confused. But it doesn't mean it can't just be crappy. And again, I think it's going to bounce. I give it my blessing to bounce. Novice gap. Again, check out the monthly because when in doubt, like this is where you need to be referencing your trades, folks, not from the short term stuff. We're at the 0.382 and we're at, I would say, this box of support. You know, box of support. Box of support. The VAP zone. Here you see it right here. The max peak volume in this area. So market makers probably got some games to play. Are you ready to play? I'm anticipating chop and slop. Just be safe. Again, I think it's going to bounce. We'll see. Silver. Be careful because if you think the market is going to go lower, silver does not do well in dropping markets, folks. Keep that in mind. So, novice gap. Should it bounce back? Yeah, nice little bounce. Again, if you took the colors out, you'd still be like, oh, that looks okay. We said on the weekly, you're probably going to go lower in time, but doesn't mean it can't bounce. For the monthly, you're at support zones. Like, I really want to see this thing later in the year in the 15, 16 range. It doesn't mean it can't just work its way lower and then pop and then work its way lower. I mean, that's kind of what I'm anticipating, folks. Like this, people are like all excited. We're like, novice gap, professional gap, probably going to bounce. Novice gap, little professional gap, probably going to bounce. Got it. GDX, you know, people are excited about a little potential here in the miners. I'm not because, again, I don't see how the headlines really help GDX. Like, what deflation's coming, right? Market's slowing down. Like that, those kind of things don't really get people interested in miners. Now, again, we'll see how it all plays out. I think it is due to bounce because, look, you have the volume with a doji. Typically, at extremes, if you see a doji with volume, that's a puke. That's like a peak. Now what? Here's your novice gap. I mean, I think it rallies 3-4 points max. Like somewhere probably in the 29 range. That's all you really got. I mean, how you want to trade it, great. If you think that's worth it, go right ahead. GDXJ, same kind of thing. Green candle, doji, whatever, decent volume. Think it's going to bounce. Said this recently, all the miners, I think they're due. AG, this one's in a price correction, time correction, death. Double bottom, you have a reference, should bounce. AEM. Doji, again, I don't really like the volume. This is what's struggling with it. I don't know. I don't really have a reference. So enjoy. If you think the markets are going to rise or those names are going to rise, you probably can play that. All right. Here we go. PAAS or NFGC. Like this name, it was up this morning, closed at the lows. It's at very interesting spots, right? Like that. I mean, it's starting to get pretty interesting down here. Again, look in the 11, 12, or sorry, 11, 3, 4. Eric Sprott is pulling the trigger on this guy. I know he's picked some really good names before. PAAS. We said, you know, watch it. I think it's got potential. Meaning potential to pop. Talked about it, little doji hammer. I mean, keep in mind, like novice gap, then bounced. Didn't really get the novice gap, but I find myself in this position. I bet the best way to describe it, in my opinion, would just these names again. They're gonna bounce. Do you want to play them? Letter X. Nice bounce today. I mean, we've talked about this one. Like, they should bounce, right? They are at points. I mean, let's look at the monthly again. We always talk about zoom out. Said this like lower end of this box bound. Why is this box important? Because this was like where it got tired. Here was, remember, high volume highs and lows, love to retest. There you go. I know it's below the 20 month, but look at it now. Here we go. Ooh, you're at the range lows. You can see it clearly. Oh God, that's just ugly. Now what? Get over the 20-day. Let's see what you got. I mean, it's oversold. The only thing that I think I struggle with is, yes, they're going into earnings. They're going to say last quarter was good. Future quarters probably going to be. I feel like all materials names are going to do pretty well coming up. It's just the market isn't like friendly to that, which that's kind of shitty, but that's how markets work. So what does that leave you with ultimately with this name? I'm gonna struggle here because you had the 200-day. I remember I said very directly, go back to 527. Probably hits here and probably gets tired and fails. 20s, low 20s. That would be my guess. Not bad. VALE, we talk about how it loves to do like this trap game before it goes. Makes like a higher high, then fails, and then it'll make a lower low before it goes higher. Well, maybe this is your lower low. This action with a novice gap coming back in, it did it down here. Novice gap and then gapped up and then went. It's crazy when that volume was just so tricky. I didn't get in until the 20-day when it backed up. Yeah. Your guess is as good as mine. I think if it bounces, I mean, if it holds this 12, I mean, it probably gets to 15. Could it get up to 16? Probably. I mean, all of that's possible. New core, hey, man, if you held this, congrats. I got stopped out of it. Today, it gapped up. Got over the 20-day. Looks okay. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's crazy how these trend lines, you just draw them and they act like immediate points of interest. Imagine how that is. No, just kidding. It says what it is. So now what? Probably should rise higher going into earnings. Keep in mind, earnings is typically bullish. Like, companies don't come out and just say, we're the worst. No, they underpromise, overdeliver, and then they guide pretty neutrally. And everybody's like, well, all right, well, that doesn't really tell us much. And so either people will want to sell it or buy it based on what they think the future is going to be. And, typically it's going to be rosy. Right? Like, there might be some bad stuff, but they're going to be like, you know what? We got this coming up and we got that coming up. And hey, we think we're going to execute and we think the markets could be this and could be that, but hey, we're going to do our best and we're going to win and we're going to do great and everybody's best friends. That's how it works. So, I mean, it is what it is. And that's typically received by the media as bullish, and the markets will be like, oh yeah, great. The worst is behind us. Well, let's be honest. The worst is in front of us, but it's not in the, it's like in the horizon. It's not right in front of us. CCJ, everybody loves uranium. I don't really know what to say. Everybody who loves to argue fundamentals with me, I will show you fundamental stocks that just don't do what they think they're going to do. This is uranium, a miner. This isn't uranium itself. I still think 16, 18. Doesn't mean it can't. I've said this a bazillion times. If it holds here, we said it. If it holds 20, pops. How high? Mid-20s. My guess, max. Maybe I don't know. You just never know. That's what I was saying. If you own this, please don't marry it. It's a bear market. It's a trader's market. Jose, holding up pretty well. Doji today hit the 20-day. What was it? Yodi was talking about the intraday action. I'm like, let me look. I didn't see it. I guess this action here, maybe as he's referencing. I mean, it held up pretty good. You got some anomalies down here. You got some yeah. I mean, it's probably building pressure. Again, this is what I keep saying. This is why I think the market's going higher near term. Everything's starting to lift. Everything's starting to make higher lows, right? Like, can we all agree on that? Like, take a pause, write this in your head for a second, and just think about this. Everything seems to be making higher lows, right? It's drawing in bulls, but honestly, it's drawing in more bears. That's the irony here. Like, go look at the sentiment. Everybody's bearish. I mean, when I say everybody, every retail trader. And those are the folks who what? Who lose the most. Think about it. Like, when they give up, because they're going to scream and cry that the market's rigged and this and that and that and this and this and that and that and that and that. Yeah, we know that. Like, they're trying to drive the car looking in the rearview mirror. Like, the market is probably priced that in near term. Now, again, I think we'll all agree that the long-term perspective of the market is bad, but a bear market is more of a trader's market. It's not down all the time. So when you see names like Mosaic that have been lagging, say US Steel, Nucor, some of these material, even freaking the GDX in the miners starting to pop off the lows, what does that tell you? Tells you the market's getting pretty comfortable with risk. Now, how long does that last? That's the million-dollar question, because my guess is whatever you think the Feds are going to say and whatever people have told them they need to say to be like super bearish, no matter what it is, they're going to say what? If they raise it 75 basis points, they're going to say what? We need to see how this sticks. We're going to become data dependent. Well, what do we know about the data? Unemployment's rising. Inflation is decreasing. So you have to think about it. Like, what? I mean, again, whatever the Fed does probably doesn't matter. It's what they talk about they're going to do. And if it's based on certain things, then as of right now, they think they got things under control. That's what it looks like. That's what the market's kind of getting comfortable with. So again, if you were paying attention, you're in the Discord room, like, write that down and say, like, I see what you're saying. Like, the market is getting comfortable. Like, here you go. CF drops, closes back near the highs. Let's get into tech. Okay. AMD. Here you go. Making higher lows. I know it popped and closed near the lows of the day, but it's still over the 20-day. I mean, it can do that kind of crap. This is what's so hard is you try to define one day as a trend, and I mean, here you got over the 50-day, and then you came back and then went a little higher, right? Could it be this? I don't know. Could it be that? I mean, there's a million. I always get like mind boggled by traders who go, well, look at that candle. It did this, so this has to happen. And it's like, no, like, it's a probability game. It did this, so what is the probability? Well, I would say at this point, if the CHIPS Act is coming, I mean, I literally just, here we go. Let's get into the Discord room. Posted this. Where is my friend Chuck Schumer tweet? I apologize. Trying to catch up. Maybe it's in this main chat room. I apologize. Here you go. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer will bring the Senate the first procedural vote on the semiconductor manufacturing bill tomorrow. I don't know how to explain this to you other than it popped and it dropped. If Pelosi's buying her shares, pretty sure others are going to be doing the same. That's all I would say. SMH. Oh my God. You sold it today and you're a genius. Okay. I know it pulled back on decent volume, but it also rose on kind of lighter. I mean, not surprised. You go from 198 up to 218 and you pull back. Every day it's a potential of a pullback the higher it rises, right? We talk about that constantly. And people are like, oh, should I buy it now? Should I buy it? I'm like, nah, just wait. And then it pulls back 5 points, 213 plus, and people are like, I don't know. Again, in my brain, I added. In my brain, no, I mean, in my mind, it was a no-brainer add. Because again, we haven't seen the news yet. Buy the rumor, sell the news. And this is what I keep saying about the market. You know, March action, like this little rally off, like that's the minimum. Well, what happens if the CHIPS Act gets really going and gets people excited and the market gets comfortable again? I mean, everybody knows the semiconductor stocks can go absolutely bonkers, right? I mean, look at the past. I mean, could it do like this one? Damn, that was a hell of a move. 100-point pop. No, I'm thinking more of what? Said this a million times. The 50-day, maybe channel, 220s, 230s, maybe even the fib here. I like the upside. Now, again, I'm not chasing. We always talk about, please don't chase. You got pullbacks, act. It's really not that hard, but it just seems so hard. I know. Trust me, I get it. People just, it's so hard, but it's not. Apple. All right, let's get into it because Apple announced they were going to be saving money, cutting jobs. And look, it hit this old weird trend line. Again, we talked about the 150s. I mean, this trend line hit it yesterday. We backed off. Now what? I mean, does it really look like it's technically damaged? Could it be just a couple-day event? I don't know. In my mind, their buyback, I guess it is kind of paused because of earnings. This one's tough to know because, again, the market, this leads the market. So when it pulled back, the market pulled back with it. But the IWDM didn't, which was interesting. IWDM. Now what? Here you go. I mean, it's I'm trying to think of like here. This is, you know, right, up and up. And, you know, this is why we don't ever chase, right? Here you go. Here's Apple climbing the wall. Here's Apple last year in July. Climbing. If the market's comfortable, what do you think? This is where you watch Apple, not AMC and GameStop and Lucid Motors and all these other crappy names that people bring in the Discord room. No, you watch Apple because it'll tell you if the market's going to go lower or higher. Just be on red alert. This is not, I mean, Doji engulfing bar. Bearish, right? Bearish. Volume's not big. Tough to know, right? Could it be this about to lead to a bleh, or is it more of a, let me see, another one of these, like, let's see, again, we haven't really had any, like, yeah, here you go. Doji chop, drop, and then continue higher. Right? We've seen this before, folks. Doji drop, continue higher, right? Anyway, you get the picture. We don't know. But you're on red alert. You're not all in. You're not like just going crazy buying every dip. You still realize it's at 150. It's at a digestion zone. Okay. Yep. Let's go into it. Meta. What did we say? Man, it shook me out right at the channel low. Apologize. Boop doop doop. Today it was a doji. Not, again, take in mind, it was up at 171, closed at 170.67. Still positive for the day. Still a gap up. You need more information because this is what could it be, a doji sandwich? You know what a doji sandwich is? Google it. It is a bullish pattern. Mr. Stephen Bigelow, it's one of his favorite. Doji sandwich. The doji sandwich is a technical indicator that's highly regarded in the technical analysis world. Here it is. You'd be like this green doji, then higher. Sorry, his voice is always hilarious to me. So at this point, now what? I said a billion times, I think if the market's comfortable, like it was in March, see this run up, it's probably going to the channel high. Probably 100-day, somewhere in the 190s. I've said even 180 I would be happy with if you were trading it. We'll see. Be patient. Especially swing trading. Now, day trading, you got to manage. You got to manage. I get it. Roadblocks. I talked about this today and said, we bought the dip and then it closed back near the lows. Oh, that's a bummer. But if you're zooming out, what do you see? Volume. There was the bottom. Here's the, like a low, higher low. Volume up. This, again, the market, did it bottom May 9th? Nope, it did not. But look what it's been doing. It's acting strong. You tell this to people and they go, well, I don't know, roadblocks. Let me short it. I mean, every time I post something on StockTwits, I get about 100, not 100. I get one or two people just going, you're crazy. And it's like, I don't know what to tell you, but this is bullish action. Buying, 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 buying. And I said today, like, post OPEX, not surprised it chopped, but you've now been 7, 8 days of consolidation. That's typically been enough days to start pumping to the next high. Now, again, this is nice. I like the stair steps up. Everyone likes a straight line move because it's easy. But the straight line move, as I always tell you, is what? It's the end. It's the end. Here you go. Here's the straight line move. I don't know if this is the end. Honestly, I don't want it to be the end. I'd rather trade it. I can make a ton of money trading it. The straight line move, again, you can make a ton of money. But, man, you can leverage a nice trend. A nice trend. This looks pretty nice to me. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Here we go. And where is the target? I've said a bazillion times. It's somewhere in the low 50s. It's somewhere in this vicinity. Remember, high volume highs and lows, love to test. Somewhere, it's this 25% fib in the 50. Look at all the resistance there. It's going to act like a tractor beam. It is what it is. Tesla. What did it do today? Still finished green. It was up 30, 40 points. I do remember that at one point. Oh, it's so bearish. Well, it's over the 50-day. I don't know. I don't know. Wipe out everybody. I don't know. I've said, please don't short this. Just looks like a chop zone. Let it resolve out. Break over it. Maybe you can go a little higher. Break below it. Short it. At this point, play the ranges. Be smart. Let's get into the financials. Played JP Morgan today. This is one of the sneakier trades I've seen in a while. Because it's probably going to do what I've said this, 1,000 times. It's, here's your like double bottom pop. Here's the double bottom, and here's the start of the pop, right? Ooh, it's not narrow. Yeah. At this point, it's very logical to me that it should go higher. Keep in mind, like this stock has gone from what, 170s? Yeah, all the way down. All right, now what? What does that tell you, Dan? What are you trying to say? Why is it so sneaky? Well, look at the action. Look at the volume on the pullback. Gap up, close over the 20-day. It gets over it, closes below it. Closes around the 8-day. Still at this, like, I mean, you could consider, if you consider these old supports, right? Yep. You got below it. You spent 1 day below it, right? And then you blasted through it. This area here in the 111, 112s, to me, seems like a buying opportunity. I pulled the trigger. I should have stopped out of some things. I didn't. Again, the options that I have, I'm good. I have time. I don't know ultimately if that's the right move. Can't guarantee anything. But what do we see here? I mean, I feel like you're setting yourself up for a bullish scenario. Think about it. Consolidation. Here's your first buy signal. Remember the anomaly. Someone had stopping power. Chop, 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 chop. Lighter volume. Rising on higher volume. Don't know what day this starts, but I think it's coming. And then you get this, which would take you, 128 up to 45. I'll take 20 points. 106 to 126. Oh, yeah. So, that would be cool because we're buying what? The 110 calls? Buying them for $3 and $4. If they got up to 15, 16 points, that'd be really cool. Who knows if we even hold it that long. But we shall see. Morgan Stanley, again, the financial sector didn't really act that bad. Again, IWM has got a lot of financials in it. What have we said? Same thing here. Oh, it got over the 50-day pullback. Not that bad. And the only reason I bought JP Morgan is because it pulled back more than Morgan Stanley today. Like, keep that in mind. Like, Morgan Stanley pulled the same action. I'm doing the same thing. So now what? Today, Junior, I don't know. I know a lot of people are saying what? It got to the 50-day, it's going to fail. Like this. Again, I think it's more of a bear market rally where there was the professional gap and you went over and above some decent levels. Meaning, like, you went 82 to 93, 95, 13 points, about 20, you do the math, 15 to 17%. You add that on top of this. What does it take you in the mid 80s? Minimum. I think the 100-day. Again, you've been so oversold. Keep that in mind. Chop, chop, chop. Drop, drop, drop. Double bottom. Pop. 20-day only. That just doesn't seem right. It just does. Because again, look at the volume here and then look at the volume here. You don't know anything for certain, but it looks like a what? For my Wu-Tang Clan followers. No, I'm just kidding. W Patton. Now, why would you think it goes higher now? Well, because you're further off the highs. Like, that's what the market does. The more you pull something, the bigger the snapback, right? Like, if you go from 109 down into 70s, well, it probably should snap more. Like this straight line move, reverberated back, double bottom, fail. Now what? Exhaustion, blowout. I mean, look at the volumes. They couldn't even blow out the stock on the drops. It's like there's just no sellers. That's just really obvious things to me where it makes me think that the market maker really wants to pop this stuff to draw in buyers. We will see. We will see. There's no absolutes in trading. Get that out of your mind. All right, let's finish it off with some of the names we always follow. EXPI. Here you go. Fundamentals. Someone was asking about fundamentals and just buying stocks. And I'm like, I don't really ever recommend EXPI to trade because it's just, again, maybe the fundamentals are great, but the stock has gotten smoked. And what are the things that I think about when I think about this company? If you bought it down here, great, but it's not a leader. It's not leading the market. Leave it alone. UTHR, I've said this about baby bios. What do I think? I think you need to take profits. I mean, we I feel like if you're this far, you probably watched many videos. Well, W bottom, another W, and then go. We talked about if you should take profits, and it pulled back to the breakout. Not surprised. And now that you're making higher highs, it looks a little more tired to me, right? I would take some profit. I know the monthly channel. We talk about it every day. You're so close. Don't let it be that game where you get so close and you miss it and then it drops 30 points and you go, freaking A, what do I do? Let's end it with the oil names. USO. I mean, Germany's about to get cut off from oil. It's rather sad. Whatever they're going to do. They're a bunch of idiots. Probably, it's pretty funny that people consider Trump an idiot, which, fine, who cares? But it's like idiots laughing at idiots, right? Like, why would you do that? And you're doing that? Okay. All of you guys are idiots, politicians. I mean, it's hard to say that Trump is like them because he is a businessman at first. At least he has a little bit of understanding of economics versus people that are career politicians. They're just all about what? Themselves. If you at least run a company, you have employees, you have a soul a little bit. Maybe not. Maybe not. Pop, drop, pop. You know, now you're making higher lows, or not higher lows. You're making like sequentially higher lows, meaning like they're not as big, right? Like the velocity down. I've said this many times. I think long term we will be going lower. Now what? We said watch for pops. I've said that you could trade this, you know, and when I say like you can or you can't, that's just my thinking. I mean, I would think you probably need to look at it through the trading mechanism, right? Like oil's probably not going to collapse until when? Probably the fall. Why? I mean, I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, keep in mind the fall of, I mean, the 2008, it was just, you know, do that more. I mean, could we be in this chop zone? Could we be in this chop zone before eventually whatever the fail news is? That's my guess, is this chop and flop. XOP, I've said this, you know, people are like, are you trading it? Man, I have nothing on this right now. Nothing involved. Got up the 20-day, rather interesting. It's the easy short was, you know, I mean, we were so early. It was like going to a concert and being there for a week. It was more like weeks. So frustrating. Anyway, long story short. Oh man, that was crazy. Yeah, the juice is out. Like the big 170s down to 108. It's gonna chop out. I think it's bearish longer term, but it has the potential. I mean, I have like this weird head and shoulders, whatever. There's a right shoulder forming. Could it be lower, higher, or not a shoulder at all? Yes, all of those are possible. I would think of it more of probably basing out and popping at some point. Then that pop is the sell moment. Could it be this gap up the sell? I don't know. I don't think so. Just don't think so, because you're going into earnings. I think a lot of these companies are going to say what? Everything is great. We're making money. ExxonMobil ended here, 20-day, 100-day pop. I've said, please, you had the easy short. We expect, again, I expect it to go lower in time. My price target's down in the 70s. You can see it down here. Just let it roll. I mean, again, like let it, like just, you can't trade it all the time, because this is what happens off the top, is say that it's this action like this before it just, that to me is the biggest worry. Is that you get stuck in this short trying to chop it and the market goes higher or goes sideways or whatever the market's going to do, and you're just stuck. Because yes, oil will probably go lower because of demand destruction, but near term, you don't know. I mean, some part of me, now again, think about this, you know, if you got to roll, I'm going to do a little rant on just my thoughts here. Is it possible that the worst leads to the beginning of the end of the near term worst news? Like, again, a part of me thinks that Germany wakes up tomorrow and goes, all right, Russia, we want to talk. We want to talk. Now, how that leads to what happens with oil in the markets, I think that just expression of we want to talk, we need to figure something out, does what? It probably lowers the price of oil and gets the market excited. Keep in mind, like right now, the headlines out of like Germany are that like they're conserving like street lights, like energy, and that they're just they're taking every conservative approach. But I think people are going to realize, like, you know, this is self-inflicted. Like, let's try to figure something out with Russia near term, and who knows if they do or don't. But again, like the peak pain might get them to actually do what? And so that's why we're always trying to anticipate, right? Anticipate. Well, what's the anticipation here? Again, I know a lot of people just listen to this versus not necessarily watch all the charts. Like, that's what I would be thinking, right? Think of it like the kitchen sink quarter for a company. Well, has Germany exhausted all their options at this point? I mean, I think they are. I mean, Biden's going to try to get them to get the Middle East to pump more oil for them, which maybe they will, maybe they won't. But at this point, you don't trust the band of thieves to work together. Keep in mind, it's OPEC. They will all lie. They will say they'll produce X and they'll do double X or triple X, or they won't do anything. I mean, they're about as reliable as herding cats, as we know. So, and that's where it leads me to this oil rant. Ultimately, is like, I think it can pop, but keep in mind, let me actually go back to the futures of oil, right? Like, don't you think it's rather simple to think about that there's a reason why you're not making higher highs and higher lows? You're making lower lows and lower highs. Like, somebody knows something. Maybe I'm telling you what I think the market maker knows. And what is that? At some point, there will be a deal. Now, again, today's green candle. Everyone's excited. We'll see. I hope this stuff helps. Again, if you have any real estate needs, danmaxrealty.com. Check me out. Love to help you out. Love to be involved in a transaction if you need a referral agent. Because, again, picking agents, it's like picking someone to follow on stock twits. You're probably going to pick some random idiot. And if you get lucky, you find someone like myself or some other professional. But the reality is, let me find that person. So I think I can do that really well. Have a great day. Be safe. Be smart. Check out the Stock Traders Almanac. There's some stuff coming. Peace. Oh, also Netflix earnings. Be aware. They usually crap out. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.